Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is the big debate. We are debating Manchester United's transfer window so far, I hasten to add. Joining me, as always, for videos is Mr. Joe Smith.
Why are we only doing it so far? Why don't we do it for the end of the window that we don't know yet?
There's a slight flaw with that, but we'll get into it in a bit. You can work that one out.
Right. I'll have a think about that.
You can give us the housekeeping as well and tell us how we're going to do this. But first of all, making her debut on the channel is Chelsea. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm good to have you on the channel. And back by popular demand is Lauren. Not been on for a little while.
No, but I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. So you're going to be helping us with this debate and helping us with this chat.
Now
and
things are
rating.
going well, you come back on.
Yeah. Oh, now we've made some signings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't want to know, did you?
Some funds on here, though.
Unbelievable.
Do you know what I mean? But we're gonna give the transfer window a bit of a rating because I've noticed a lot of people. Right, I was chatting to John Shin online the other day, and he gave it a 10 out of 10.
10?
I know.
Come on,
I love John Shin, but
he just wants more pictures with the first team squad, doesn't he, John?
I know.
He's
I
got to
love
give
him
it a
all
10.
that much. It's 10 out of 10.
Is it legal to give an 11 out of 10?
Yeah,
is what John said originally.
You just can't get any better than these signings we've got.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ineos. So I thought, let's have a little chat about it. Let's get into it. Let's rate. What we'll do is we'll rate the transfers individually. Then we'll do, the transfer players, the players that have been transferred.
Is this why I was going to do the housekeeping, Jay?
Yeah, this is why in fact, you can do it if you want.
So we're going to go through each outgoing and incoming, outgoing and incoming, and we're going to give that deal a rating.
Okay.
Between us. So we're going to come together and give, let's say, for instance, Ligt a rating out of 10. Let's say, for instance, Donny van der Beek leaving a rating out of 10.
Okay.
And we're going to go through, and then at the end, we're going to give what we think the window as a whole has been out of 10.
Right, okay.
It really is that simple.
That makes sense. Loads of people in the comments. Get involved in the comments. Just let me know your ratings for the ones we go through and then give us your rating at the end. Right, let's talk about the outgoings first. We'll breeze through the outgoings, then we'll get to the juiciness, which is the incomings. That's all anyone cares about. Right, there's a few ones I'm just going to breeze through. Brandon Williams.
Yeah, I mean, he's left on a free?
I think so, yeah. I think it was the end of his deal.
I don't really even need... Do we need to give that a rating?
Right, Andy Martial, Brandon Williams, Raphael Varane, Omari Forson, all left for nothing. End of the contracts. They've all gone for free. I don't think we need to get into it too much. I was sad to see Raphael Varane leave. But I get
it was needed, though, I think.
I was going to say, do we think there was anyone who should have stayed out of those?
Good question.
No, definitely not. I think Varane came to the end of his kind of, we all noticed that he wasn't playing as well as he could have ended last season. Martial, we've been saying for seasons and seasons that he should have gone. I don't think any of them are really players that we needed to keep, starting afresh.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. I love Raphael Varane, and performance-wise, I thought he was great. But like you say,
injuries
he missed a lot of games.
Yeah,
and it was sad because that FA Cup final reminded us of how good he was.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant player.
Yeah.
Did you see as well, though? This was interesting. There was a sort of stat sheet, a data sheet of who United have sold, who United have brought in, and how much we're spending on that person per year. Yeah. So because of the way you can break down, you pay a portion of the transfer fee per season. Everyone knows this already, but just to go through it, so instead of you're not paying 45 million now, you're paying 7 million a year for 5 years or whatever it is. So every single transfer we've made this season, their wages for the year plus what we're paying for that transfer this year, any single one of them was less than just the wages we would have paid for Varane.
Really?
So it's like 17 million for wages for Varane. And transfer fee this year plus wages for everyone was less than 17.
Wow.
Even Ligt, I think, was about 16. Like that was what we've paid this year and his wages. And everyone else was well below. So that's a big thing to come off the wage bill, isn't it? 17 million quid a year.
Some of the wages we were paying were unbelievable. So to get that down is...
Yeah, because there was a reason we got him from Real Madrid, and it wasn't just because he loved Manchester. There was,
but he did. The women love Manchester.
Oh, I did.
He did.
Another player we all loved for a bit.
Yeah.
Donny van der Beek.
Classic.
He was the answer to all our problems. He went out the door for £500,000. Lauren, I'll start with you.
I mean, I might have loved him when we signed him, and then until he set foot on the pitch, it kind of changed. I just don't think he really did it for us. It was unfortunate, but there was never at any point where he looked like he was either going to break through and become one of our best players, which we all kind of were hoping for. Even when Ten Hag, thought he was going to get game time with Ten Hag, still didn't see him.
Yeah, he got injured, didn't he, against Bournemouth, wasn't it?
Yeah, never got started, really.
Yeah.
Charles, what did you make of Donny van der Beek?
Yeah, obviously when he joined the club, obviously it was quite exciting. A player that Ten Hag obviously knew. But I just think one word to describe his kind of time at the club was underwhelming. I feel like every time we thought he was going to come back and play, obviously get injured or he just wouldn't, ball was away. You know, they play him instead of Bruno, and you know how much we need Bruno. Like, it's just, he didn't give that spark in midfield that I think we needed. So I think him going now is probably the right thing.
It's kind of sad to me what happened to Donny van der Beek. Ballon d'Or nominee, let's not forget. All the hype.
Well,
we've got a right cue there. Van der Sar has sorted that one out for us. And he just never got going. And I remember when we played City in the derby and everyone was chanting his name. Yeah. And he came on and then gave the ball to Phil Foden and he nearly scored. And I just thought that just sums it up, really.
Yeah.
Are we ranking this one, Joseph? Rating this one, I should say.
I think we all, by the sound of it, agree that it was time for him to go. 500,000 is nothing. So I'd just give this a sort of 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I'm not disappointed by it. It's not an exceptional fee by any means. It was the right thing to do, so just above 5, but I wouldn't say much higher than that. Or would you?
No, I think it's fair. I mean, you got a little bit of money for him, which you'd expect.
I mean, a little bit. Though.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been a little bit more.
Really?
40 million quid on it.
I know.
Yeah, but he's had a disastrous loan spell, hasn't it?
Under a million in this.
Like
the economics of football, we're under £1 million.
In the Premier League.
$1 million is
that's wild.
Nothing.
So I think 5.5. Can we all agree on 5.5?
Yeah, I'll go for 5.5. Hit that like button, please, people, and let us know what you think. What do you think about the transfers? You know, as we go through each player and also in general, loads of people commenting. A lot of people saying the same thing, that they feel as though the window is a certain way so far, but if we get Ugarte in, it'll be a lot different. Right, who have we got next on our list? I think it is
Fernandes.
Yeah, how much do we get for him? Is it €6 million?
Yes.
Yeah.
Never got a chance. Went out on loan a couple of times. I think that's just a 6 out of 10 deal.
I agree. I don't think
there's not much to say, really, is there?
He's barely been here,
even when we needed a left back, he weren't in, was it?
I think he could have been given more of a chance to play. I think he maybe, with the desperation for needing a left back, I think he could have been given that chance. But I mean, if he's not going to get given the chance, you might as well just send him off on his way.
It's weird doing it because now, theoretically, he could be playing now.
Yeah.
We've got no fit left backs.
No, we need a left back.
And we're still willing to sell him, which I don't always think reflects the quality of a player because sometimes people don't get the chance, they're not training with the first team or something happens that you don't know. But it was a bit of a weird one that he never even got a sniff when we had no left backs for most of last season. But obviously the manager
we were putting in Amrabat on his first game left back.
Lindelof's playing left back.
But we've got him there.
Didn't we have a stage where we just we had loads of options at left back, like Fernandes, Reguilon, and then we just gave him back or away.
Yeah.
And Brandon Williams, it was send Brandon Williams out on loan, send Alvaro Fernandes out on loan, and returned Sergio Reguilon.
And
then it was
we've got no one
Malassia's out and Luke Shaw's out, we haven't got anyone.
Well, it came out, didn't it, at the end of the season?
Was that a bit weird?
I think it was Laurie Whitwell's article where he said Ten Hag was assured by the club doctors and people at the club that Malassia and Shaw would both be coming back in January. And in the end, neither of them did. Or Shaw came back
for a week. A month, sorry.
And Malassia just never came back because he had whatever it was, that knee injury. But what we're saying, 6 out of 10?
Yeah, 6 out of 10. I wish him well. Right, who's next on our list? Pellistri, just happened this one, I think. We've just got the confirmation by the club a few hours ago. Facundo Pellistri, €6 million, I think it is, joining Panathinaikos. What are we saying?
It's a shame, but I think it's right at the same time because I don't think he's really going to get the game time that he should do. There was points where we saw him and I did enjoy watching him, but like I say, he's not going to get the game time, so let him go and let him flourish somewhere else.
Yeah, I like Pellistri. I met him once, he was a good lad, but it never happened for him, did it?
No.
I mean, he always got on with it. He offered you a little bit of direct sort of attacking football, but did he have the levels that you needed? What do you reckon, Charles?
Yeah, no, I mean, I did like him, and I think when he played, he was quite a good sort of young prospect, and I was quite excited to see more of him. I am a little bit disappointed to see him go. However, with the way the team's going and the way what he's building, I don't think he fits into that kind of thing that he's building. So I maybe would have liked to see him for one more season, and maybe give him more game time in cup games, for example. But if he thinks it's the right time for him to go, then That's what it is.
It was one of those, like, I think it was the beginning of last season where people were saying, give him a chance, Andy's terrible, give Palestri a chance. I never really took it when he did get an opportunity.
I was kind of one of them people.
Yeah, well, I think it's easy to do that because let's not go down and start talking about Anthony because we'll be here all day. So, Palestri's transfer, what we're saying, Joseph, I'll let you decide for us all.
I think 6 again. It's not particularly inspiring either way, is it?
No. I mean,
to be fair, maybe a 5 because it's €6 million. What did we spend on him? Like 17.
Yeah.
So we've lost 2/3 of his fee.
Again.
And he's, gone sort of, I think it's just a bang average, middle of the road, 5 out of 10. It was the right thing to do, but the fee wasn't great. 5.
Loads of people. Brian Kelvin says wasn't good enough. Ross Murphy says last thing he did was Community Shield. He switched off left Bernardo Silva for the equaliser.
That is harsh. He was playing right back for the first time in his life.
I mean, that is harsh.
But he did also get beaten in the air by Bernardo Silva.
Nomad Joe says he was a good squad player. Neil S says just another Dan James.
I'm not sorry to Dan James was far better than Palestri.
Yeah.
And not to like diss Palestri, but Dan James started most weeks of a full season for us and did all right. Like, I think that's harsh to Dan James, that.
I know.
We got 24 million for him for a reason. I know he's not a great player, but he's actually played.
Yeah.
Dan James made the Etihad his dance floor.
Come on then.
Singh has been a member of the Academy for 44 months. Thank you for your support. So sell-on clause for Palestri makes it a 6 out of 10 for me. What did we say?
It's 40% sell-on fee, isn't it? So if he goes somewhere else for big money, then we'll get half of it. But I still think it's bang average. What do we reckon?
Yeah, I know. I do agree because of the fee. Yeah.
Willie Cambuala, Villarreal, says there €10 million. I thought it was a lot less than that, but that's what it says on that screen. What do you reckon about this one? 19 years old, did all right, was it against Liverpool and then struggled against Bournemouth. What do you reckon, Lauren? Start with you. This transfer.
I'm a little bit sad about this. I think he deserved a chance. He deserved at least this season, really, because I think he didn't have the most consistent when he did play, but he looked promising. He looked like someone that like really had his head screwed on, like off the pitch as well. Like I just think he needed that this season to maybe be able to prove himself, because we kind of need the centre backs, don't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a shame. And 10 million, it makes sense because he didn't really play that much. But
I'm a bit surprised as well. Like you said, I don't. He seems to have some traits that are very good. Like his enthusiasm is very good. I know that's not a trait necessarily. Like,
well, sometimes you need it when you've got some players who don't have it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think his recovery speed was very good at times, and he had to use that maybe a little bit too often. Yeah. The problem is one of them. He's 19 though. And he's like one of France's like under 16s captain, under 18s captain. Like he's someone that has been very highly rated as a kid. The only the issue I guess is if he stays another season, then he goes for 3 million or 2 million or 1 million if he doesn't have a good year. Maybe we just thought let's just cash in. I think there might be a buyback clause on him as well.
Yeah,
I think pretty much everyone United have got rid of has got either some sort of buyback or percentage sell-on fee or whatever. We're really sort of putting that in there to get players out the door. So that if there is a buyback clause, which I think there is, it puts it up slightly for me. But I was a bit surprised by us selling him. Were you a teenager?
I think it's a shame. I think with our injuries that we had last season, I think he was one player that would be good to keep as a squad player. I mean, he's only 19, and when he's played, he's impressed me. He's been a good centre back, and I just think, like Lauren said, cash in for 10 million whilst you can, because if it does end up going south, then he's worth less and less money. But I don't know. I don't think we should have got rid of him. I really don't.
No,
I would have kept him.
Yeah, I agree. What are you thinking, Jay?
I'm kind of on the fence a little bit with it. I get it. I think he had a year left on his deal, and he's a young player who did okay in 1 or 2 games, and then looks a little bit ropey in others. I don't think he was helped sometimes by his fullbacks, and it's not easy coming into a team where you've got this revolving door of defenders alongside you, or midfielders in front of you kept changing as well. So wasn't easy. Did okay. I don't know enough about him. I didn't see enough of him to make a sort of decision. I think part of me just feels like you have to trust the manager somewhat. You have to think that the manager knows what he's doing. We've brought in, obviously, 2 young centre-backs as well. 1 young centre-back and another centre-back as well. And we've extended Johnny Evans. So I think this is just a decent deal.
What are you saying then, Ray?
I'd go 6 out of 10 for it.
6?
Getting €10 million, for someone who's got a year left on the deal and played about 10 games, if that.
Yeah, the fee is it's a jump up from the others, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a big jump, but it's almost double any of the other ones. So Yeah, maybe 5.5, 6.
Right, yeah,
I think we need to change that Donny rating.
Yeah.
I think that needs to go down 500 grams.
I know, I'm
Can
thinking
we
about
drop
that now.
Donny down to like 4 or something?
The way we're doing the rest of it.
Absolutely stinking.
I'm just impressed with that 500k. Use it over like what 500k? Mate, 500k. It's a lot of dough. That. Do you know what I mean? Get you a nice house in it.
It's wild.
So I'm with you.
That's like when you
crazy.
take all your DVDs into cash converters and they give you like a quid for it.
Yeah.
Like I spent 300 quid on these.
Yeah.
It's a quid. Yeah,
Alright.
terrible. So Donny's down to a 4. Campbell 5.5. That makes you feel better.
Oh, okay.
better.
Yeah.
Ann L says, I want a score out of 10 for Woodward at the end. Okay. We'll do that if you want. Woodward, I don't know why, but fair enough. Who are we on to next? Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Go on, Jay. You start us off here because I think you've done what you've done with a few things with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I'm going to
explain what I've done.
I'm going to invoke Bastian Schweinsteiger
Best performance I've ever seen at Old Trafford, that against Liverpool. Bastian Schweinsteiger.
Where Martial's debut. Is that the one?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've
It's up there with Sofian Amrabat against City as
Sofian
the best
Amrabat in
midfield
the FA
performance
Cup
Wembley,
final.
that Wembley turf has ever seen.
Jay does this thing where he'll think something is like a sort of an underrated performance, and then he'll go from that was underrated. He actually played really well there. No one's noticing it. Over the years, he go, actually, that was an amazing performance. You know what? That's the best one of the best performances I've ever seen. So he's gone from Wan-Bissaka being like a good player, him and Dalot maybe fighting for that spot, to all of a sudden now we're going to sell him. It's like he pocketed Doku, he pocketed Sterling, he pockets everyone. He's never made a mistake.
Here, right?
He's our best ever fullback. We
Erik
wouldn't have won a
Ten Hag
trophy
would have no
for him.
trophies. He'd have no trophies at United if it wasn't for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Yeah, that Carabao Cup final, Alan Saint-Maximin was destroying us. The low's on a booking. We bring on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, puts him in his pocket and absolutely smashes it. Doku, put him in his pocket. He only scored because Onana made a mistake. I think this is a disastrous. This is the worst move since we sold Ronnie to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So I'm giving this a 1 out of 10.
No, really though, what do you reckon?
Listen, he had a year left on his deal, 15 million quid. It enabled us to buy Noussair, Mazraoui. I think the deals were very similar in terms of the price. I get why the manager wanted to do it, even though I wouldn't have done it, but I'm not the manager of Manchester United for a reason. So it's a kind of, if you don't rate him or if he doesn't want to stick around or if you want to bring in another right back that suits your style, it makes sense kind of deal. So I just go 6 out of 10, even though it pains me.
Yeah, I'm gutted.
I am.
Nah, you see.
I am.
You hate him.
Oh,
We all like him.
3 against 1.
My
yeah.
little tirade doing my impression of you that's actually convinced. They've gone, you know what?
Everything he said there,
I was messing about.
We wouldn't have
believed it.
Hey, he did pocket Raheem Sterling every time we played Manchester
Best
City.
one-on-one defender in the world.
That's what they say.
See, so having a dig at me is actually
I didn't have a dig at you.
swayed the electorate.
But now.
Hey.
No, I was just staying silent because
I was waiting for it.
I've accidentally propaganded myself here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have. Lauren, what are you giving this transfer?
I think. Oh, but then we've. I can't because I think we could have got more for him as well.
Right, okay.
Like, I think a 4.
A 4.
4!
See, I gave a 1.
I'm
and
gutted.
then you convinced me 6. Lauren's
Genuinely.
gone 4. What are you saying, Charles?
Yeah, no, like I said, I wish we'd kept him personally.
Don't let him put you
like,
off.
No, no, like
She's got this weird obsession with Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
So
Don't
angry.
let me put you up, but don't let Jay
Yeah.
put you on either.
Yeah.
Because
My
it's
thing-
not...
Just because I know
have
that
your
Aaron
own
Wan-Bissaka
thoughts.
is probably the best right back we've ever had.
Yeah.
No, my thing is, right, so, like, obviously, you know, like you said, best one-on-one defender. And he's a brilliant defender one-on-one, and I've always said that. And for me, I mean, Mazraoui played really well the other day, but I've seen him play once, and I think Wan-Bissaka I just think he was a really great option at right back. I think he was obviously better than Dalot. I think he was...
Yeah.
He had his off days, you know, players do. But I'm not happy with him leaving, and I think I'm not looking forward to going to London Stadium because I think he'll have all of our players in his pocket because
Fully.
I agree with that. Rashford is going to look terrible.
he's going to be scary to play
It's
again. So
going to be
I don't even
Garnacho
want
getting
to.
slid into the stands. No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I just
What's your rating, Charles?
My rating, I'm going to go. I'll go with a 3 because I really do like him.
4-3.
I really
I
do
put
like
up to
him.
6. Just because you went on with yourself. But I feel like...
What's yours then?
Well, I said 1 at first, which is being a little bit silly. 15 million quid for a player that's out of contract. Even though I love Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I'll go with a 5. I'll go with a 5. I get it. I understand it. Even though I don't like it, I understand it.
I don't think... I'm not going to go really high. I don't think it's amazing. 15 million quid, again, we've lost 35 million on what we paid for him, but that year in his last year of his contract, and
you pay for what you get,
not
you pay
to be
for
the potential that we thought.
Yeah, it's not just like we've not we've had value for the money we've spent.
Yeah,
on him,
we have. But on the other hand, he came as one of the best young fullbacks in the world, the most promising young fullbacks in the world, and hasn't gone on to be one of the best fullbacks in the world. So you're going to lose money on him. I think he's a good player in a very specific situation, or he's a very good player in a specific situation, and unfortunately he's a bit of an average fullback in a lot of other situations.
Yeah, because going forward isn't
great.
Going forward isn't great. Do you forget that game at Old Trafford against City where he danced through that City defence?
When was that?
When we beat him 2-1.
When was that?
2 seasons ago.
2 seasons ago, great.
Sorry.
Hey, one good game in every 2 seasons.
A competitive game at Wembley. A game that mattered at Wembley where Wan-Bissaka was amazing.
So he's good going forward once every 2 years, which for Jay is enough.
Important games.
But for me,
the ones that matter.
He's better than that. But I just think he's limited, and while you've got someone in the squad who's limited, and the problem is if Dallow's injured, or obviously we've got Mazraoui in there now, which we wouldn't have had if it was Wan-Bissaka. But if Dallow gets injured and you have to bring Wan-Bissaka in, not for the specific Doku, Sterling, tricky winger situation that he's good at, for like 10 games in a row, you have to change how you play down that side. And I think to move forward, we need more interchangeable players that are of a similar style. He's too different to everything else that we want to get going on that right-hand side. So I think this deal is probably a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's slightly better than average. It's a decent fee. It allowed us to get Mazraoui, and it gets someone off the books who isn't quite right.
To be fair, I think getting Mazraoui does kind of make it a little bit easier in a way, doesn't it? Like, we let go of him, we've got him, and he had a good game.
And Wan-Bissaka gave his all for about 5 years for this club.
He did.
And 70 minutes against Fulham, and you've all forgot about it. Oh, Mazraoui was so good. I don't know. Do you know what? You don't deserve trophies, you lot.
I think my rating might go up the more we see Mazraoui play. But once we see more from him, and I'll get over my breakup with Wan-Bissaka, then maybe the rating might go up.
To be fair, Mazraoui did look very good.
He did look good.
Fulham.
Yeah.
So,
really exciting.
what we on there? 4.5.
That's the average.
It's heartbreaking.
Should we go with that?
I'm heartbroken. Mason Greenwood, we know why he left Manchester United. It wasn't because of footballing reasons. We've gone over those reasons a multitude of times on the channel. We got 26 million quid for him from Marseille. We've seen him score goals. He's going to score goals. He's scored goals already at Marseille. I don't think anyone is surprised by that, but we know why he had to go. Lauren, I'll start with you. What's your rating of this transfer out of 10?
I think it's a decent amount of money for him, really. I'd probably give it about an 8, to be honest. 9, because he needed to go, so he's gone. Because there was talk of him potentially coming back and staying, wasn't there, for a little bit? So the fact that we have got him off the books, we've got money for him, is an absolute positive.
Okay. Chelsea, what do you reckon?
So I was concerned when he went on loan that he would come back, and I didn't want that. I think, considering the situation, considering what happened, and I feel like if he did come back to the club and he scored for us, it put you in that kind of awkward position because you're happy that you're winning, but do you really want to cheer a goal scored by that person? For that reason, I never wanted to see him play for United again. I'm just going to give it a 10 because I think we've got the money for him. He's off the books. He's gone. Move on.
I get your logic, the reasoning behind you rating this highly, and I think if you take out the emotion of how disappointed I was in Mason Greenwood and what happened with him, because I thought this guy was going to have a future at United. Obviously, I know why he hasn't, and I understand that completely, and I agree with it. But I don't know. I feel like we had to move him on. At one point, it didn't look like he was going to. It was untenable at United, and I think, despite the fact he's a very talented young player, the issue, you can't ignore that. 26 million euros, it just feels like a bit of a solid transfer that made sense all round, so I'll give it a 7. Joseph?
Yeah, I don't care how good he is, to be honest. I think he had to go. There was, I know obviously within the club that question was asked and it seemed like they were up for keeping him at one point, but we had to get rid of him. I don't really care what we got for him. The fact that there's a sell-on fee feels a little bit weird to me, even that we're like, you can have him because he's horrible, but also we want a little bit more.
Still want him, keep it out of it,
I get why from a purely financial perspective, but if you're selling him for moral reasons, which is the only reason we're selling him, then the fact that we still want to make money from him further down the line makes me feel a bit uncomfortable. But I think as a transfer, probably 8, but like he had to leave. So I don't know. It's probably a 10, really, isn't it? What else could have been done?
Really?
Other than tear up his contract, which would have made me feel happy. Probably a 10 because we've got rid of him. We've got some
money for him.
But it's just horrible, isn't it? All of it.
As always, such a divisive figure. But someone here has said Nomad Joe has basically traded Greenwood for Zirkzee. If you look at the fees involved, because I suppose you could argue that similar ages, I know different types of players. But you've basically got rid of Mason Greenwood for 26 million euros. No, it's a bit more than it for Zirkzee, but I get your point. Yeah. It's about 40 million euros in it. Michael Dyson, who's been a member of the academy for 30 months, says, feel like we've been a bit savvy in the transfer window. Just need a midfielder. We'll get into that. Frodo took the ring to Mordor, but Sam was the real hero of the story.
No.
Is that a Star Wars reference?
It's a
Lord of the Rings.
Sure. I disagree with that as well.
Harry Potter. Right, so we talk about incomings. I think we'll average Mason Greenwood at 8.5, and we don't need to keep going on about. We know the reasons that everyone's explained why he had to go. We got money for him. He's gone. Even though every time he scores, we're going to hear about it from a certain set of people.
Fabrizio Romano can fuck off tweeting about him every 2 seconds as well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that's all about, that you're Mason Greenwood's PR mouth. 20 million followers, loads of people are scoring goals every weekend, and he's not doing retweets and putting kit swaps of him on his social media. That needs to stop. What is the point? Why are you shining a light on this guy? Like, you're almost sort of going, let's keep an eye on him, because fuck off.
Yeah, he's doing it for that old engagement, and
it's just weird though.
Elon Musk money from his blue tick. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to get loads of engagement for that.
It's like rage baiting, isn't it?
Because you need it, don't you, Fabrizio? Because you're not really getting any engagement from any of your transfer news. Like, you get like 8 million retweets. Let's talk about incomings anyway.
The good stuff. This is where the big boy numbers start popping out here.
Right, okay.
For this.
So I think the first transfer of the summer window, was it Leny Yoro?
Yeah.
Right, so Leny Yoro, around 60 million euros, came from Lille, 18 years old. Real Madrid wanted him, looked like they were going to get him. Manchester United said, Real Madrid, who are they? Have they just won the FA Cup? No, we have. Where are you going to go, Lenny? Sort your life out. And he went, Jesus wept, you're right. What was I thinking? Let's go to Old Trafford. Very talented. Had a little bit of an injury issue, apparently, according to Laurie Whitwell at Athletic. The club knew about his metatarsal problem, but thought for the long term it doesn't matter. He's such a great player. We can get him. We can sort of stomach that. Unfortunately for us, he broke his metatarsal, I think, in his first appearance, or second appearance, sorry.
And we then played him.
But that being said, Lauren, I'll start with you. How do you rate this transfer out of 10?
So I actually didn't watch the pre-season games with him, so I don't know too much. Obviously, it is a shame that he's now injured for 3 months or whatever it is. It was exciting that we actually did a deal very early into the transfer window, because it's not like us. So at the moment, I'll just give it an average 5, because we don't really know anything yet until he's back.
Wow, 5 out of 10, man.
Alvaro Fernandez to Benfica, better than this. I'm not having it. I'm not having it.
Willie Camboala, better than this. Hey. Oh my God. Don't change it. Do not change it, right? Don't let him bully you like he did with me and Wan-Bissaka. Right, you stick to your guns. If you don't rate Leny Yoro, you think he's shit. That's fine. I'm a bit surprised that the kid's barely played for us. You're saying he's the worst transfer we've done all summer. Wow. Okay. A bit surprising, but I did say you can share your opinion, regardless of how ridiculous it is.
What are you going to say?
0.
I'm scared now.
Lawrence, she's made her feelings clear on Leny Yoro, and now she doesn't like him. What do you reckon on this transfer?
So,
a lot of money for a good player, but go on.
Yeah, so honestly, I'd never heard of him before the transfer window. I don't particularly watch French football. Obviously, I know he's quite young. We did pay probably quite a lot for a young player. But, they know what. At the end of the day, I've got a bit. You've got to trust in the manager. You've got to trust in the scouts. They clearly have seen something that they like in him. He's a big centre back. We need centre-backs, we need defenders. So I think it will be, hopefully, he stays injury-free once he's recovered and it's not like a reoccurring thing. Again, it's hard to rate because I don't really know much about him. I'll go with 7 because I don't want to say he's amazing because I don't really know, and I don't want to say he's awful because I don't really know, but then I feel like I should go a bit more than 5.
Only because of the reaction that...
you've been bullied into that.
Get bullied, right?
So, if you want to say 5...
No, I'll go with 7, but 7. Again, it's subject to change when he plays more and etc.
Yeah. Daniel Berry agrees with you. He's given Leny Yoro a 7 out of 10. Nomad Joe has given that transfer 6 out of 10. Yeah. Patrick Mulford says Jay gaslighting. Yeah, Lauren didn't say he was shit before anyone takes him seriously. Said she don't rate him.
I'm a bit more impressed with this deal. I think we don't know how good he's going to be, and whenever you buy an 18-year-old, it almost goes back to the Wan-Bissaka thing. Like, we bought a 21-year-old fullback in Wan-Bissaka thinking he might go on to be one of the best fullbacks in the league. It didn't quite happen. He went on to be a good one, but not a great one. we're buying Leny Yoro thinking he's going to go on to be one of the best centre-backs in Europe. Yeah. Now, for this deal to be anything higher than a 7, he has to go and do that. But when you buy people of this talent, of this sort of reputation, I think that deserves a bit of a pat on the back for Ineos when we've not been doing this. When's the last time we signed a very, very highly rated youngster, first of all, at all, but second of all, for less than 70, 80 million,
you know,
60 million euros as well, that is, not pounds, it's 50 million pounds. We probably have to go back to Wan-Bissaka, which was 6 years ago, and it was a different set of circumstances completely. I think Yoro's considered one of the best teenage centre-backs in the world, and for me, if you go and sign him, that's a big deal, especially when Real Madrid definitely wanted him. It wasn't like they were being used to get us there. They were linked with him before United were ever linked with him. Yeah. They clearly wanted him, and I think if you pip them to the post, admittedly we paid a lot more than they were going to, but they were using their name as a sort of reputation, as bait almost, to get him next season. I think this is a 7 out of 10. But to be higher than that, we need to start to see the player that we think we've bought rather than the injured player that we've unfortunately got at the minute.
I get everyone's point. I think I'm in between. I feel it's a bit of a 6. The only reason I think it's 6, I think he's a very talented young lad. I think that there's a reason we got him over Madrid, and it isn't just the law of Manchester United. I think that we did pay a little bit more. Also, we did know about that injury, so you presume Real Madrid knew about that injury, and we were just willing to stomach it, which, again, it's not his fault, and I'm not saying he's not going to be have a very good career, but it sort of puts it into context of why that deal was maybe a little bit more doable than perhaps we thought. So I just feel like it's a bit, the jury's out. Obviously, the jury's out of all these signings, but we don't know yet how good a deal this is, and I feel like as it stands, it's a good deal for a good young player. Yeah. I don't think it's anything spectacular. I feel like had we got him for a bit cheaper, or he'd not had this injury, then you could have put it as an 8 or something, because you go, wow, you actually paid less than what Madrid were going to pay or whatever. But we think we paid a bit more, and there's obviously this little question mark. So yeah, I think on average, we're going to go with 6.5 on average for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your rating then?
I think mine's going to be 6.
Okay.
Because I think he could be the next Rio Ferdinand, or he could be the next Rafael Varane at Manchester United.
You're buying someone who you can't even really look at his body of work as proof of how good he is.
No.
Because there isn't enough of it. He's had one season. Yeah. And he was very good. I think he got in the team of the year in France. So that is very good. But you're buying potential, which is always hard to rank very highly, because look at Sancho, Wan-Bissaka maybe.
To a certain degree, even someone like Martial, you think how highly rated he was when he was at Monaco. Yeah, like we were buzzing when we got him, and it was like, this kid is literally like the most respected or sought after teenager on the planet, being compared to Thierry Henry and all the rest of it. And never quite hit those heights, did he really?
No.
Being brutally honest.
No.
He had a couple of seasons where you're like, yeah, wow, great, and some big goals, but then he never got anywhere near the sort of the expectation that was there. Hopefully Leny Yoro will be different, but I'll go with 6 out of 10. Let us know what 6.5 out of 10 is the average.
Can I just say on him as well, it's nice because we're signing young prospects, young talents, which I feel like the last few seasons we've just been signing stopgaps to like kind of, just like Varane, Casemiro, be good for a few seasons. And as well as that, it's nice to have players actually want to come to us instead of Real Madrid. Like we are becoming, I don't want to jinx it, but we're becoming a bit more desirable again, and people want to come and play for Manchester United. And I think that is such a nice thing to have, because we've not had that for so long.
Yeah, it does feel like it's been a little while. And even when we have got players, and you think, oh, that's a bit of a coup. Like Pogba coming back tonight, but 89 million quid. Do you know what I mean? Massive. Like there's certain, like Di Maria didn't want to come. We got him because we just threw a load of money at him and basically forced him to. And he hated Manchester, and he's missing it even more. Yeah. But this does feel a little bit like there was a willingness there from the players. So I get it's a great point, Charles. Who's next on our list? I think the next signing in terms of the order would have been Zirkzee, because the Ligt and Mazraoui was close together. Zirkzee, if we're going to go just off his performance against Fulham and his goal, it's got to be a 10, hasn't it?
11.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
It's a good sign, isn't it? It's a good sign.
100% goal scoring record for United. What more do you want?
True.
Exactly.
No, I didn't know a lot about him. Me and you did transfers live, which we'll be back later on. We spoke a lot about him. I think it was Bologna's top scorer last season as they got into the Champions League. Didn't score loads of goals, but passes the eye test in terms of his ability and the way he runs with the ball and stuff like that. Lauren, what do you make of this transfer, and what rating are you going to give it?
Well, funnily enough, at the game on Friday, he'd come on, and I liked the look of him, so I texted my dad, and I was like, I like Zirkzee, I'm excited. And he texts back saying, I don't know what you're seeing, don't know what you're watching. So I was telling everyone that was sat around me. 30 seconds later, he scored. And everyone around me weren't even celebrating the goal. They were all just like, text your dad that.
Yes.
So my dad got a bit of bullying
player,
there.
Though, they score.
Yeah, every time he does, honest to God.
Well,
that's what he does. Like, it used to be like, if he texts saying, Rashford's coming on, he'd have the game of his life.
Keep doing it.
I like the look of him. I really like the look of him from, what he played, and obviously the goal. It wasn't the prettiest goal. It was a little bit of a scuff. Was it off the shin or like a little bit? But he was in the right position, and that's all we can ask for to score a goal. Don't care how good it looks. So I'm excited to see him, see what he can do, because he's a big lad as well, isn't he? So that'll be exciting to see how he does going up against some of the defenders in the Premier League.
Yeah. So what's your rating? Sorry.
Oh yeah. 8.5.
Wow.
Because it's a low fee as well in comparison to, say, Yoro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 million less than Yoro.
8.5, that sets your dad. He's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't for that, it'd be a 7. Chelsea, what are you saying?
Yeah, so obviously, we needed another striker. Hoyland obviously isn't. You need more than one striker at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course.
And
you
with
do.
him being
Last
injured and
season
everything, you
showed
need
that,
someone to come in. I think for his age as well, obviously, he's not a young kid, but he's not past it. He's a good kind of age as well. So I think to come into the team, he's got the experience, with Bologna. When he came on the other day, I wasn't absolutely amazed by what I saw. And I think that's completely understandable because it's his first game, he's just come on. But what I was saying when I was watching it is that with a striker, they don't need to play amazing football all the time. They need to make the moments count. And that's what he did. He got his opportunity and he made it count. And that's all you can ask for his first game. He didn't play the whole game. He came on, he scored his goal, he won us the game. Yep. So I can't really say anything bad about him. So rating-wise, based on the one time I've seen him play, I'd probably give him an 8.
Okay, 8. Joseph, what are you saying? What's your rating?
I'm going to ruin the party and go a bit lower.
Right, okay.
I like him. I think it's a good signing. I definitely think it's a good signing. The thing is, he's someone that United need. So it's a positive. I'm going to give him a positive rating. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. We need available players who can do different things. So we've got a player here who's physically big. He can scare people. He can get amongst it sort of aerially as well. He's not someone that everyone's going to go, easy day at the office today. Joshua Zirkzee there. You're going to wake up that morning and go, I've got a battle on my hands here.
Yeah.
He's not. He doesn't play particularly physically, so he's not a big smash him up forward. I think Hoyland is more clatter into his centre back. But when anyone's 6'3" and you're playing against him, it's not going to be fun, is it? So I like that. I also like the age. 23 is very good. I like the fact that he wants to play for United. That's a theme that you mentioned that is sort of with all of these transfers. Nice. He was dead keen to join, and I love that. And United need someone that is available, that can do something different. But the thing I really like about him is his passing ability and his ball carrying ability. He's someone that can do stuff with the ball at his feet, where I think Hoyland is the opposite. Hoyland likes sort of arriving on the ball. I know he can dribble into empty space very well and use his pace well, but he's not a technical, detailed, quick passing centre forward. He's I'm going to push into a good space and put the ball in. I like that Zirkzee can do that. I just think 42 million euros is about what I'd expect to pay for him. There was never a world where we were going to pay 80, was there? He's a bloke who scored 15 goals for Bologna last season. I think the fee is about right. I think this transfer is probably a 6.5 out of 10 for me, because I want to see him become something. So is he the person that brings Marcus Rashford and Garnacho into the game and lets them score 20 goals each this season? Is he the person who you can rely on week in, week out, or not week in, week out, but regularly to get you these winning goals like he did the other day? I want to see what he's got to really bring to United. But in terms of replacing Martial, fantastic. Yeah, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm kind of agree with everything everyone said. I think you all make great points. I think with the thing with the Zirkzee signing, it was a signing that Manchester United should be making.
Yeah.
There was no way on God's earth we shouldn't be able to get a 23-year-old from Bologna who's got a buyout clause and who scored 15 goals in all competitions last season. That should not be a thing where it's like, well, we couldn't get him. We tried, but it was beyond us. You should be able to get Joshua Zirkzee, bring him to Old Trafford.
We have been in positions like that, though, before.
Well, this is the thing. This is probably the thing with Ineos, where it's like Ineos are doing the things that they should have been doing. In terms of even the backroom stuff, we should have been doing this years ago. But because we're doing it now, maybe we're elevating a little bit because we're like, wow, this is amazing, when it's actually not. It's what you should be doing, but we didn't do it under the Glazers, or certainly when the Glazers were pulling the strings. So for Zirkzee, for me, good player, decent fee, makes sense. I'll just give it a 7. I just think it's one of those where I'm happy we got him, but I'm not going to lie to you and say, a few months ago I was like, we have to get Joshua Zirkzee, but I am glad we've got him, and it does make a lot of sense. And I like the fact, as you pointed out, Joe, he's a different type of a striker to Rasmus Højlund. I like a bit of that, a little bit of difference. If you are going to swap them around or whatever, or if one of them's going to come on for the other one, it's good to give the defender something different to think about. So he's not just got a similar player coming on. You've got something different. And who knows, might even see 4-4-2 one day with them both up top, which would be,
I wouldn't mind
my God, that would be like
nice.
Adam Wan-Bissaka re-signing for us in terms of things I want to see. As a striker.
As a slide tackle striker.
That would be, better than anything I've ever seen at United. I'll give 7 out of 10. I think, what's the average there? Is about 7.5, is it?
Yeah.
7.5 out of 10. Let us know what you think about the signing of Joshua Zirkzee. Everyone's happy with him, aren't we? He's had a good debut. I think that matters as well. I think it goes a long way having a good debut, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Like Martial's debut, everyone loved him, didn't they? I think it can just
Don't
sort of settle the nerves. Hopefully he won't spend 2 years of barely playing for us. Let's talk about, we'll do Mazraoui next. I think him and De Ligt obviously was a bit of the same signed at the same time. Noussair Mazraoui, again, if you want to talk about debuts, had a very good one. I think it's 15 million euros, very similar to the fee we paid for we got for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's basically Wan-Bissaka went out, Mazraoui came in. Lauren, what do you make of this signing? Does it make sense? Are you happy with it, and what's your rating?
It does make sense, obviously, with us getting rid of Wan-Bissaka. 15 million euros, 26, which isn't really old for a defender, really, at all. So, and I thought the game against Fulham, he had a really good game. I think every time he was on the ball, he looked good. He looked exciting for, as a right back. So I'm again happy, but with the backlash of my last, rating. I'll become a bit more realistic.
The trolling, the severe trolling that you got.
And watch now, I'll say a number and you'll give me shit again. No, I'll give it 7.5.
7.5? Are you real? We've been smoking 7.5. What?
I don't know. Wait.
Mate, come on.
Are we pretending that's too low or too high?
They don't know.
Me and Joe gave me some of the eyes and I was like, right, we're laying at this, but we don't know what we're laying at it about. And to be perfectly honest, you've been very reasonable now with a rating that makes a lot of sense for the reasons you've explained. Chelsea, what do you reckon? Mazraoui, obviously we're not going off debuts. People say, we can't go off a debut. We're not going off that. We're going off this transfer, how it looks, what we know about the player, the position that he's coming into, and
how much we paid as well.
And who he's replacing. I think Mazraoui, for me, if everyone's fit, he's probably not going to start, but he's a very good player to have as an option, especially when you look at the injury record we've got. And who knows, maybe he does give the manager something to think about over Delo or even Luke Shaw. What do you think of him, and what rating would you give him?
Well, obviously, I know he's an experienced player. We needed someone to sign, obviously selling Wan-Bissaka. So, price-wise and what we've paid for him, I feel like it's pretty even, almost like a swap. Again, I hadn't really heard much about him before we signed for him, but from what, again, don't want to base it off debuts, but it's all I've really seen. Based off the debut when he played the day, I was really, really impressed with him. I think he played really well, and I think he just offers something a little bit different to Dalot, and I think, obviously, competition for that spot now, I think it will give Ten Hag something to think about. And if Dalot has a bad game, brings Mazraoui in, and he kind of blows him away, he's like, oh, maybe I should start him. So no, I think he's a really great signing. I think he's a signing that we needed to make, not having Wan-Bissaka, and I'm excited to see how he goes. Rating wise, I'd probably go a 7, I think. Because based on what I know and based on everything, 7 I think.
I think that's pretty reasonable. Joseph, what do you reckon?
I think it's a very good signing in some respects and a slightly scary one in other respects. I think the fee, the talent and the age, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think just under 13 million quid for a fullback that I personally think, if let's say he was fit for 50 games this season, I think he'd be starting right back for United by the end of the year.
Right, okay.
I think he's a very good player and probably better than Dalot on his day, or say on his day when he's fit. The worrying thing for me is his injury record. And we'll get on to Ligt, where I think the injury sort of fears have been overblown. I think people aren't talking enough about the fact that he's missed like 30 games in the last 2 seasons, Mazraoui.
Yeah.
That worries me. He's always had injury issues as well. Not every single week, every single season, but it's been a thing in his whole career of like, he's out again. If he can stay fit, I think it's amazing. But I think we almost have to accept that he's going to miss 15 to 20 games this season through injury, or 10 to 20 games this season through injury. If somehow he doesn't, players will often have this where they'll get on a rhythm, or they'll get in a certain team, or the way they play, or they manage their body differently, and they may go, they might get some 45, 50 game seasons out of them. But we sort of have to accept that he's not. And for me, that knocks him down a bit, because he's an amazing player, I think. Not amazing. He's a very good player. But if he's going to only play 35 games maximum, that's a bit of a concern. So I'm going to give it a 7. But I think if he could play 45, if he was fit for 50 games this season, or 45 games, I think it could be an 8 or a 9. I think he's very, very good. And I think for 12.8 million quid or whatever it is, that's amazing.
It's a steal,
really,
isn't it?
Starting player. I think that's brilliant. Yeah. But I'm going to go 7 overall, just because I'm worried about his injuries.
Makes sense.
I kind of agree with everything you said. It does worry me a little bit that all the defenders we've brought in, there is a slight question mark about injuries with all of them. Even if it's not that big a question, or it is an overblown question mark, as might be the case with Matthijs de Ligt, they're still there. You can still say, okay, he's had quite a few injuries over the last few years. Mazraoui's had injuries, de Ligt's had injuries, Leny Yoro came with what was potentially already not an injury, but something to be wary of. That is a little bit concerning to me, that all of them have this slight question mark over them. In an ideal world, you wouldn't have that. But I like what you said as well, Lauren. I think sometimes there's a reason why certain players just haven't played as much, or that they're available. I think we sort of have this idea that a player's done by the time they're 24, 25, and that's it. And if they've not had that, moved to United, then we shouldn't be buying them or whatever. It's nonsense. And I think we saw, what we saw against Fulham. You can't look too much into one game, but there's a reason the manager wanted him. There's a reason the manager was willing to let the greatest right back ever leave. So just because of that, I'll go 7 out of 10. I think it's an average of 7. Yeah. The injury thing does concern me slightly, but there's a player there, and you have to, as a manager, and I get where it's coming from, you have to have players that fit into what you're trying to do. And we've all established Aaron Wan-Bissaka played a certain way, and he didn't quite feel like he was the type of defender or type of fullback that the manager wanted. Well, this guy certainly seems to be that type of player. Let's talk finally again about Matthijs de Ligt.
Big boy. The
big name, innit? The biggest name we've signed this summer. One we've been linked with for about 10 years, it feels like, since he was at Ajax. We got him for a reasonable fee, €45 million. Some slight concerns about injuries, slight concerns, has he quite lived up to the hype that he had as that young captain at Ajax? Has had success. He's won trophies at Juve and at Bayern Munich. He's won titles at both those clubs. What do you make of this transfer, and what rating would you give it?
I think, like you say, we've been linked to him for years, and it's it's a bit of a worry now that we finally got him. Is it going to live up to? It's a bit like when Sancho, It's a bit like that, and is he going to live up to it? I really hope he does. And again, like we say, the €45 million is a very decent fee. I'm happy. 25, again, not a bad age, really, in hindsight nowadays. I'll give it a 7.
7. Okay, fair enough. Charles, do you agree with that? What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with this one. Like we've said, he's been on the cards for years and years, and I feel like we've always been like, we want him. But like I said, we finally got him, and like I said, hopefully it doesn't end up being like a Sancho situation where all the hype's built up to nothing. Anyway, that's a different story. But no, I'm happy with it. I think he's experienced. He's got that experience. He's got that age. He's won trophies, etc., etc. I think he'll be a good leader at the back as well. I feel like, because obviously with the absence of Varane, who was quite a big leader at centre back, I feel like he'll be a good kind of slot in for that as well. So yeah, all in all, I think I'm really happy with the signing. And if he can stay injury free, I think he'll be a really, really great player to have in the starting lineup. So I'm going to give him an 8.
8.
Yes.
Joe,
I love this transfer.
I agree.
I'm giving it. I'm gonna go 9.
Ooh.
I think
wow.
38 million quid for. He's just turned 25 like this week, by the way. So
25 till he's 26.
yeah, but he's not like he's going to turn 26 soon. He's 25 all season.
Yeah.
We bought a great age. He can play his entire contract and still be 30. So he's still got another contract to go in his career.
Yeah.
We're getting all of his prime years for 38 million quid.
Yeah.
You can't even get like a third choice academy Aston Villa player for that because of all the PSR little switcheroos that them and Newcastle and Chelsea and Brighton and all them lot are doing. Like this is the 38 million quid is peanuts these days.
Yeah.
That's an amazing fee for someone who, when fit, has started almost every week for Juventus, he was fit, and almost every week for Bayern Munich. People acting like Eric Dyer kicked him out of the squad. Well, he didn't, first of all. And also, Eric Dyer was like a free transfer, like 4 million quid. Don't act like they're the same thing.
Yeah.
But Bayern Munich were terrible last season, and Ligt plays whenever he's fit, and has done his whole career at every club he's been at. And he'll play for Man United when he's fit, I'm certain of it. I think he's a brilliant player. Maybe not quite the sort of, he might be the next, I don't even know, Baresi or whatever people thought he was going to be. And he maybe won't be one of the best centre-backs in the world. But I think he's in that next bracket down. And with the right move and a bit of confidence and a successful team around him, I think he could be a world-class centre-back. And we've got that for £38 million. That's fantastic to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 9 out of 10. And again, the injury record, he's only had, I think, 2 seasons where he's played less than 40 games. He's not someone that misses tons of games every year. He's had a couple of knee injuries, which obviously keep an eye on it, maybe give him an individual training plan, whatever you have to do. But for me, signing Matthijs de Ligt, who's one of the biggest names in Europe, is still a young player, is a fantastic player. For that fee, I think that's a brilliant sign. I'm going to go 9.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you, Joe. Out of all the transfers we've made, I think this is the best one. The biggest sort of coup. If you want, people talk about Leny Yoro and all the rest of it, but there's reason behind that. To get a player like Matthijs de Ligt, who's still young, like you said, he's only just turned 25. He's been at 3 of the biggest clubs in Europe, and he's done well at all those clubs, won titles at all those clubs. He's a class defender, he is, and he's got that leadership qualities that you mentioned, Chelsea, as well. Yeah. So there's just a lot to like about this transfer, and also, like, there's a reason why you get a player from Bayern Munich. There's always going to be some reason. Like, you're not just going to go out and go, well, we'll have your 24-year-old centre back because we want him, and we'll have him for 40 million quid. And they go, yeah, sound. There's a reason.
Yeah.
Like, they were looking at other options. They had a lot of options. There's some slight question marks about his injury. There's always going to be something that makes that deal happen. But I don't think the reasons that we got him are that necessarily that bad. It's not like he's got a bad attitude. It's not like he's got a horrendous injury record. It's not like he's had a terrible spell there. And this idea that Eric Dyer gets him out of the team is nonsense. It's just not true. So I think he's a great signing. I do. And I think he's the one out of all of them that excites me most. He's the one I know the most about, to be honest with you, because the others I'd only started looking at when we've been linked with him. So I'll go with you, Joe. I'll give it a 9 as well.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't succeed at United, I'll be shocked. And I also think, as it stands right now, he's the only one who goes straight into the first team.
Yeah.
Like, if everyone's fit. I know, obviously, Mazraoui will get him because Luke Shaw's not fit. And then you make a case that maybe he'll take over from Delo eventually.
Yeah.
But I think right now, if everyone was fit, the Ligt starts for Manchester United. I don't think the others do.
Yeah.
So I think to get a first-team player who's just turned 25, who's won the lot, basically, at different clubs, he's class on the ball, he's a class defender, has the leadership qualities that sometimes Manchester United have been missing. Yeah, I'm about it.
Yeah.
And it's about time we had a Dutch player in this squad.
I know. Someone who's worked with Ten Hag before.
Yeah. The poor Ten Hag must be like Billy No Mates in that dressing room.
Couldn't know anyone, yeah.
So finally, he's got a little Bezzy there for himself.
It's ridiculous.
I think overall, we can work out what we've given the ins and the outs. It's around an 8, innit? 7, is it? 7 or 8 or something.
Yeah, but
we're not doing it like that, are we?
No, I want to stray from that.
We want to give ourselves, or give the club, an overall rating for the transfer window so far, because we might go out and buy a load of players next week.
I hope so.
Could.
Yeah.
We've got to get Ugarte.
Or
a defensive midfielder of some
all day.
kind.
We need it.
We're too lacking in that.
I'm going to start with you then.
Yeah.
What would you rate this transfer window so far? Taking into consideration the sales, the signings, the fees involved, the positions we've filled, all that being said, how do you rate it?
I love it. I love the age of the players. I love the profile of the players. I love the fees that we've paid for most of these players. I think Leny Yoro is the only one where you go, that's a lot. But even then, 60 million euros is a far cry from the 80s and 90s we've been caught spending on the likes of Antony and Lukaku and Paul Pogba in the past. I think that it's been brilliant, and I think that we've seen a direct push to change the structure of the squad. And I think whilst individually I may have rated some of the transfers themselves lower, I think the overall transfer policy at United makes way more sense to me now than it ever did. Like you said about the stopgaps, 35-year-old Zlatan, 37-year-old Ronaldo, 33-year-old Cavani. What's that going to do for a team? It's certainly not going to win you a league. I'm not saying we'll win it this season, obviously, but I can see now in 3 years' time, all of these lot could still be here in the first team. That was never the case with those transfers I've just mentioned.
Very good point.
I think I would give the overall, I think I'd give it an 8. Or maybe even an 8.5, actually. I'm going to go 8.5. If we get Ugarte, that would push it up to a 9 or even a 9.5. Obviously, if any of these players could go on to be terrible for us because we've seen it so often. But in terms of who we've bought, the positions we've bought in, and how much we've spent on them, I've been massively impressed overall. So I'm going to go 8.5.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You're going 8.5. Lauren, what are you saying?
I agree a lot with Joe, and I think the business side of this transfer window has been different. It's felt like with like the buyback clauses and sell-on clauses, it's something we weren't really concentrating on in the past years. So I think that side of it has been a massive positive as well. We are still at a loss in terms of how much we've spent to how much we've got, but I mean that's quite normal, especially for United as well, because every person we do buy, we make a loss on, pretty much, which obviously needs to change, and hopefully it will do going forward with kind of what looks like a new business structure in terms of transfers. The signings we've made, the signings that have gone, and as Chelsea, you were saying as well, we've brought in players that want to play for the club, which is something we've been crying out for, and I've been crying out for quite a while now. So, yeah, I'm actually going to agree with Joe for once today.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to go with an 8.5 as well.
Great score.
8.5. Can I just read out a comment on the Ligt from Jesse Taylor? He's world class. The people who say he isn't are just jealous little brats that wish they had him in their team. That's
Who's that?
Jesse Taylor.
Yes, Jesse.
Jealous little brats.
Yes.
You're just jealous little brats. You wish you had him in your team.
I like it.
I love that comment. Well done.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Chelsea, what do you reckon? So we've had 2 8.5s. Yeah. By all means, you can disagree. Feel free to. I know I'm
You know what? For the first time in a long time in a transfer window, I am feeling optimistic. And that is that from for the last few years, it hasn't felt like that. It's felt like last-minute panic buys. It's felt like transfer deadline day loans. It's felt like we haven't had a clear structure and a clear vision in mind. Now, when Ineos was kind of coming into the club, I said to my dad that this is going to make a massive difference. He disagreed. He thought nothing will change. It'll be the same, blah, blah. And I think they really have made a difference. I think it's only just beginning, and I think there's much more to come. Yeah. But I think 100% they've made a difference. We've got promising players. We're filling positions that we need filling. Like I said, we've got players who want to come and play for us, and I just think it's just a lot smarter. We're working a lot smarter than we have been in previous years. Yeah. So, I think we still need a defensive midfielder, because I do think Casemiro is, as much as I love him, I think he's on his way out, and I think we need someone to fill that spot. I think we do need another left back as well, because obviously we've got Malacia, we've got Shaw, who are always injured. I've read a bit about Ben Chilwell today. Don't want him. I don't want
Ben Chilwell?
Yeah, have you not seen that? Yeah. We've been apparently...
We're linked to the
full-back season.
That's what I mean. We don't need another left-back on the injury table. We don't need that. So, I don't know who I'd suggest instead, but I think we need a left-back as well. Yep. I think I will give it an 8. And I think if we signed a left-back and Ugarte maybe, or a defensive midfielder, I'd probably go to a 9.5.
Okay.
So I'm quite impressed.
Yeah. I agree with the reasoning you've all said. For me, I think we've made a lot of good signings there. The Ligt one's the one that is a standout one where I go, wow. I think Mazraoui, I get why we didn't want Wan-Bissaka when I managed him, what he brought in Mazraoui. I don't think it's a massive leap forward for me. I just think it's probably a player more suited to what you want to do. Yeah. Zirkzee, I think, is a very good backup option for Rasmus Højlund, maybe even someone who can push him a little bit. And Leny Yoro, one for the future. So I can't ignore this midfield situation as it stands because we've got fewer midfielders now than we had at the end of last season, and that worries me because we've let Amrabat go and we haven't replaced him, and I just think that's insane. Now I do think we'll change that. I do think we'll sign someone. I'm a bit basic, me. I am that guy that loves the big shiny signings, the Casemiros and all that. I think, yeah, I mean, we've got
Anthony's
him.
your favourite player.
He's mine because he cost the most. Well, he cost 100 million euros, and I thought, yeah, do you know what I mean?
He's the most expensive in the squad.
Yeah, so obviously he's mint. But I look at it and I think it's been solid. It makes sense. It's been solid signings that I expect us to make. Even the Leny Yoro one, I can understand how we got that deal done. So I'll give it a 7. If we get a Ugarte in, I don't know loads about him, but people that have watched him seem to think he's the answer, and we do need a midfielder because the worry for me is we're going to end up asking Kobe Mainoo to do everything in midfield while Bruno's busy doing whatever he does up top, and Casemiro hasn't got the legs to do what he needs to do.
We don't want to burn someone out like Kobe Mainoo.
No.
Yeah, so I'll go with a 7, but if we get a Ugarte in, I think that's an 8, maybe even you could nudge it towards a 9. So I think the average would probably be 8 there.
Yeah.
I'd probably brought it down a little bit because you guys all went for 8s and 8.5, which is a pretty solid transfer window. I don't think it's been spectacular, but it's been good, and it's what we need.
And the thing we've learned from Man United is you can sign any players, any number of them, sell them, buy them for what you want. A year later, it can all come crashing down. Like there is literally no telling how good a transfer will be based on any metric of what they've done before they were here and what they do after they're here.
What was the transfer window we said was the best since 2007?
Wasn't it Ronaldo, Sancho, Varane?
Yeah, most likely, wasn't it?
There was, I thought it was the other one. I thought it was the Martinez, Casemiro, but you might be right. I think it was.
Well, maybe. Either way, there's been some impressive ones.
It's the excitement with the names.
That one was brilliant.
That was. We wanted Sancho for years. We got him. Rafael Varane was one of the best defenders on the planet. And Ronaldo is a contender for the greatest player of all time.
And he came home.
And 2 of those 3, one of them was an absolute disaster. One was pretty much a disaster in Ronaldo. And Varane, whilst it was a good signing, he's missed a third of the game since he arrived. Like that. So this can all change. I think as of right now, you can only buy what you see in front of you, and I think these are very good signings for me.
It's kind of difficult sometimes to get excited about efficiency and doing things the right way. Do you know what I mean?
Is it?
It's not like, oh, I tell you what, that was absolutely what we should have done. Like what?
Class efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency.
That's what really gets you.
Oh yeah, and Elle said it's been spectacularly efficient and organised.
This is like Alan Partridge things that you get to write.
Yeah, it's so organised.
Absolutely brilliant efficiency.
Oh, is John Shin in the chat?
Don't watch the start of the vid, John.
I don't know if he is actually. People telling him to shut up. I don't even know if he's here.
Don't tell him to shut up though.
It's a thing. That was a thing with Steve. I think the quote Steve actually. Lauren, always a pleasure. Good to see you back on the channel.
Thank you for having
Chelsea, very good debut there. Don't let him bully you into changing your ratings there. Do you know what I mean? I agree on the Aaron Wan-Bissaka point. And Joe, always a pleasure, never a chore. You know where to find us all on the socials. Go and check out these guys on socials. Make sure as well you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget as well to keep commenting and let us know what you think about the transfer window so far. This has been a bit of a debate over the transfer window so far. Hopefully there's more to come. Thanks for watching.